Nice. Okay. So our program today, our guest, main guest, is Dr. Kevin Leonard. Dr. Kevin Leonard is the College of Arts and Sciences Dean at SIUE. So he came in at the wrong time because he joined us last year, July 1st, 2020, just when COVID was rife and we're all scrambling. But he's managed to steer the ship really nicely, so we're all, on track now. He replaced Dr. Greg Gatman, whom some of you know. Dr. Leonard brings nearly a decade's worth of administrative experience in strategic planning, recruitment, hiring, mentoring, faculty evaluation, program assessment, and budget management. His most recent position was professor and chairperson in the Department of History at Middle Tennessee State University since 2017. And prior to that, he served as chair for the Department of History at Western Washington University from 2011 to 2017. His scholarly expertise focuses on 20th century U.S. history, history of the U.S. West, African American history, and LGBTQ history. His current research involves race and the policing of gender identity and expression in the 1940s, and religious freedom in the Pacific Northwest in the 1920s. He has authored a book, as most professors do, you know that. The book is called The Battle for Los Angeles, Racial Ideology and the World War II, and has extensive publishing record, including peer-reviewed journals, book chapters, and much more. His academic journey began as a lecturer at California State University in the Department of History in 1993, so he's been doing this for a long time. Before he went as visiting assistant professor of history at the University of New Mexico later that year, and then moved on to Western Washington in 1997, and also Antioch College, Department of History. He earned his master's and doctorate in history from University of California at Davis, and a bachelor's from Pomona College in Claremont, California. I believe he lives in Edwardsville, but he's going to tell us if that's true or not. It's true. It's true. It's fantastic. Cool. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Kevin Leonard. That's the whole. So you could delete one, right? So this laptop was still some years, It's just not very fast anymore.
So much technology.
All right. Oh, perfect. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction, Masanda. And I thank you all for being here. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the College of Arts and Sciences at SIUE. As Masanda noted, I'm a new dean, although I've been around now for a year, but this is the first time I've actually been in a room with people talking about the college. So you are my first audience to hear me talking about what we do at the College of Arts and Sciences. So I'm thrilled to be here in person. It's wonderful to see that there are people with bodies attached. I'm used to dealing with people on Zoom. In fact, I had a meeting with one of the department chairs in the college this morning, and he referred to me as the Zoom dean. So that's how a lot of people see me, is as the Zoom dean. So I know that our time is limited. I just wanted to give you a little bit of information about me so you know who I am and what I come from. Masanda mentioned some of my background, and I know we pass a lot of that, but I have some images to share. And now I want to talk a little bit about the College of Arts and Sciences and where I think it's headed. So, what I like to say, I mean, as Ms. Sonda pointed out, my education was completed completed in California. I've written mostly about events on the West Coast as a historian. And as you'll find out, I grew up west of here, but I have pretty deep Illinois roots. I like to tell people all 4 of my grandparents were born in the state of Illinois. Even though I'm new to Illinois, my family is not new. My grandparents were all born here. My father grew up in the town of Rantoul, which is in Champaign County, for those of you familiar with that part of the state. There was an Air Force base there. There isn't any longer. And in fact, my parents lived in Rantoul after they got married. They met in the Twin Cities of Bloomington and Normal. My mother was a student at Illinois State Normal University, now Illinois State. And my father was a student at Illinois Wesleyan. And so they got married, they moved to Rantoul, and eventually they moved to the lovely little town of Leonard. I've been there once years ago, which is in Iroquois County. And they lived there for a while before they decided to move west. And it's a longer story that I don't have time to go into. But they decided to move where my mother could live for a while as a teenager. And that is the lovely city. This is probably an older image, but that's Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is actually where I was born. So Sandra mentioned I taught for a year at UNM. It was really kind of surreal to come back to the place where I had been born and to teach at the University of New Mexico, even though my family moved when I was 5 years old. My father pursued an opportunity that brought him to this lovely community. Most of you probably don't recognize that. That's Casper, Wyoming. So I grew up in Casper, Wyoming. I'm one of a very small number of people who claim to have grown up in Casper, Wyoming. It's about 50,000 people in the least populated state in the country. Obviously, I didn't stay in Wyoming. I went off to school on the West Coast and have traveled around quite a bit. That's a lovely view of Casper in the summer. In the winter, it looks more like this. Wyoming can be very cold, though, in the summer as well. Being from Wyoming, I had the opportunity to serve as an intern for a U.S. Senator. It was not really that competitive. So that's actually what I looked like when I got here. Many years ago, I was in college at that point. That's U.S. Senator Al Simpson, now retired member of the congressional delegation from Wyoming. And so my parents actually still live in Casper. They've been there for more than 50 years. But they're from Illinois. So I did spend 20 years teaching in this lovely location. That's Western Washington University in Bellingham. And then I spent 3 years on the faculty and as the chair of the history department at Tennessee State University, which has a much less photogenic campus than Western does. Western Washington. I've not been on the campus of Western Illinois University. I don't know how photogenic it is. But that's a little bit about my background, and I just wanted to let you know that I've traveled around quite a bit. I bring that knowledge with me as I come to SIUE, but I'm really happy to be at SIUE because it is a tremendous institution with a great history, and the college itself has a really great history as well. And for those of you who aren't entirely familiar with, I lost my look up at that. So anyway, the College of Arts and Sciences, I can roll with this. I'm not PowerPoint dependent. So the College of Arts and Sciences is a big unit that was created 26 years ago. Primarily, it was created out of a number of schools to serve the general education program at SIUE. And it just made sense from the viewpoint of the administrators at the time to combine those schools so that they could better serve the general education program. And that's a big part of what the mission of the college still is. But we do have 21 departments, and we also have some interdisciplinary programs, including a program in international studies that offers a bachelor's degree, a program in Black studies that offers a minor, and a program in gender studies that offers a minor as well. But all of these programs offer, all these departments offer majors. And so we have a lot of focus on disciplinary education, even though a big part of our mission is to serve the larger general education needs of the professional schools and make SIUE distinctive. As our mission statement, I keep trying to get people to focus on the mission. I think we'll probably end up revising the mission statement in the near future. Our vision, I think, is also really important, that we want to be recognized nationally and internationally for excellence in this programs, faculty, staff, and studies. And in fact, we are moving in that direction all the time. We already have some really spectacular successes. Some scholars, for example, one of the members of the Department of Biological Sciences, Suzanne DeSalvo, just received an NSF career grant, which is nearly a $500,000 grant paid out over multiple years. There are only 2 faculty at SIUE who won those career awards, both of them from the College of Arts and Sciences. And so we are very committed to excellence. We have this desired characteristics and capabilities of graduates, which is an older document, dates from the early days of the college, but we remain committed to it. And we also are really committed to equity, inclusion, and diversity. And that's one of the primary goals of the institution, because in reality, we're in an educational environment right now where the number of 18-year-olds is shrinking. So we can't just continue on being the institution we've been in the past. We need to work to attract new students and to attract students who might not otherwise be on our radar or might not have been on our radar in the past. One way to do that is to increase the diversity of the student body and recruit more from places such as Chicago, from St. Louis itself, and also from the greater St. Louis area on the Missouri side. So those are our commitments, our goals. I just have a couple more slides that I can share with you. Our desired characteristics and capability of graduates include all of these things. I like to focus on lifelong learning, integration and application of knowledge, because that general education component is really important to us. We still provide a lot of courses that are IS courses, they're interdisciplinary studies courses that students are required to take. So they're able to make connections between their majors and other fields that they've had to take courses in. So I have a few images here just to demonstrate. I like to emphasize the fact that even though we are a college and a lot of learning happens in classrooms, a lot of learning happens outside of our classrooms as well. We have on the campus, we have an archaeological site. That's what we're seeing here. So we're working in the dig, which we do every summer. I visited this summer. We also have really a world-class arts program. And so artists are often using heavy tools and heavy equipment that we might not associate with art, but it's really critical in sculpture. We have some students who actually do large-scale sculptures, which are visible on the campus. Of course, we have labs. I could talk a lot about the success of our students. Our chemistry department sends out all kinds of graduates who work for chemical firms in the area, including at Pfizer. And then I think one last image here, I always like to highlight music as well. So that's part of the College of Arts and Sciences. That gives you some sense of the range of activities that are available in the College of Arts and Sciences. And at this point, I know that I need to be very cognizant of the time, but I'm glad to answer any questions that people may have about the college, about where we're heading in the future, and anything else I can share with you. Yes?
Did you find any departments a little quicker than that?
Yes, we're actually in an interesting phase, and we're trying to figure out exactly what the long-term effects of the pandemic will be on the institution. In a lot of fields, we've actually lost enrollment. We've had a declining number of majors. Mass communications is a department that continues to grow. We've seen some growth recently in the Department of Theater and Dance. Most of our departments are pretty much holding steady, or they're seeing slight declines right now. We know that there's a lot of interest, and we're working to try to make sure we have the faculty and resources in geography and geographic information sciences. GIS is a big growth field that we would like to really support, and so we're working to get some resources in that area.
How did you narrow down the topic of your book? Was it something like you did thesis on that and then just decided to?
I did, and that gets into some questions where I can talk at length about lots and lots of things. But as a historian, I mean, I started out with a kind of big question about what was going on in Los Angeles during World War II. And actually, I started more broadly asking questions about race in the country. And I came to that book by actually focusing on the experiences of Japanese Americans. And something that I noticed in doing some reading was there was a very strong anti-Japanese American campaign that occurred during the war, while Japanese Americans on the West Coast were actually incarcerated. There was still this campaign in the press to vilify Japanese Americans. And I got very interested in that. And in doing that, that was my master's thesis. I became really intrigued by what was happening in Los Angeles. And my doctoral dissertation focused on what was happening in Los Angeles during the war. And I was really interested in, for example, race broadly defined. So during the war, the African American population of Los Angeles increased really dramatically. Japanese Americans, of course, were incarcerated, and there was a very significant, as there is to this day, Mexican American population in Los Angeles. And one of the central events in Los Angeles during the war was the Zoot Suit riots, the so-called Zoot Suit riots. And I became interested in that. There's a chapter in my book that deals with the riots and how they shifted the debate about what race meant during the war years. And so, and I have an unfinished manuscript that deals with African American history and Cold War in Los Angeles. I'm hoping at some time to get back to some of that research. But right now I'm very busy learning how to be a dean.
So just keeping this one under control.
Yes, it's always a challenge.
Any other questions? Dr. Leonard, thank you very much. And on behalf of the Home Nursery and the Tazowski family, we'd like to present you with this beautiful flower.
Thank you so much.